Sri Lanka, an island shaped like a pendant on a necklace, full of lush and diverse landscapes. It is a unique blend of food, cultures, and religions, and the warmest, friendliest people I have ever had the privilege to encounter. It was nearly a year ago that the tsunami came crashing into the southeastern coast. Leaving behind a trail of destruction that went up the western coast almost to the capital city of Colombo. Six months later, I found myself in Sri Lanka's south, where the tsunami had hit hard.
The aftermath of this tsunami, it was still very prevalent. A lot of destruction and building rubble, bricks just sort of strewn in fields where houses used to be, entire 30-foot palm trees blown down, coconut trees blown down, a real sense of temporary shelters, camps still created. Also a lot of makeshift graveyards and some fresh mounds along the highway where people had recovered bodies and just buried them where they were. The project that I was working on with SAPTREE while I was there was to go into communities, and they talked to me about their personal experiences and just, looking in their eyes and just the sadness and just the helplessness, and thinking what I wouldn't give to be able to make this better for them.
I'm Sarah Mackey, age 26, and completing my master's in international relations at the University of Sussex in Brighton, England. From the time I was a teenager, I have felt called to work in international development, to study for this, and to volunteer wherever I could, especially for World Accord, an organization in my hometown. When the tsunami hit the country sitting along the edges of the Indian Ocean, I volunteered to go and help out for a month in Sri Lanka. Now, it is a full year since this tsunami, and I am on my way back for the second time. Once again, I have an assignment from World Accord, but this one will be the biggest challenge of my life. So we've seen the orthodox, we've seen the revisionist views of why the Cold War happened. This version looks a little bit more at the Russian Revolution as sort of creating the preconditions. Sometimes I stand back, amazed at how my life is unfolding. As a teenager, I organized fundraisers for third world causes. This led me to a degree in international studies and volunteering for a local organization called World Accord, and to its director, Terry Fielder.
There are two universities in town, so it's not unusual for us to have university students call us, and that's how Sarah came to us. Sarah Mackey phoned one day and said, I'd like to volunteer.
I first met Terry when I began volunteering at World Accord. The minute I walked into the door, he welcomed me and wanted to know about me and what I was doing and what I was interested in, and he brings in always the personal element. People matter.
Sarah volunteered to go to Central America and do her own internship program without any financial assistance from anyone, us or the government or anyone. Studied some Spanish and then went to Guatemala. Went in as a volunteer at our Spanish partner in Guatemala, Mujeres en Acción.
I was able to learn a lot about what World Accord is all about in terms of how they pursue development projects and how they were doing that at a really grassroots level. It was a really good learning opportunity.
She left a good impression and was a good representative of Canada and Canadians abroad. And so we're quite anxious to keep our relationship with Sarah alive.
It has been an evolution and it's been a growing relationship. I don't think I ever would have guessed that the things that I've gotten out of World Accord and where I am today would have ever come from me walking in that building for the first time and saying, how can I help?
Volunteering, studying, working, thinking, doing. For me, it all goes into the goal of being of service in the global context. Where exactly it is all leading to, I never know. I pursued the possibility of coming here to Brighton to take part in the Master's Program for International Studies. And then, in December 2004, the tsunami hit. Like the rest of the world, I was horrified. With my studies in Brighton to start several months later, I had some time in my schedule. I had to find a way to help out directly. I gave Terry Fielder at World Accord a call.
She asked, is there anything I can do to help World Accord in one of your project partners somewhere in Asia? And we immediately thought of Sri Lanka. The reconstruction was beginning, there was still a lot of damage around, and she went in and worked in some of the communities in the south and east primarily, helping them to recover from the damage and to help the organizations spend the disaster response money they'd received as wisely and well as they could.
World Accord put me in touch with its former Sri Lankan partner, South Asian Partnership Sri Lanka, also known as SAPSRI. It did not take me long to realize that SAPSRI's philosophy was similar to the one that World Accord had shared with me for so many years. People are the champions of their own development. They are the experts, their own agents of change. They had worked well together many years earlier, but then World Accord's funding had dried up and they had to say goodbye. Now, thanks to the generosity of World Accord's donors reacting to the tsunami, the relationship was being rekindled.
All it took was one email down to Sri Lanka after the tsunami and back from them, and we were back right where we left off in 1995. The agencies, the organizations, the leaders, the human resources of the people, the friends that we had were still there. So now we're building a new friendship. This is a whole new era for World Accord, and Sarah, for us, is right on the front of that.
A majority of people in Sri Lanka are Buddhist, about 80%. Everywhere you go, you feel that faith is a part of Sri Lankan life, whether it's with the Buddhists, the Muslims, the Hindus, or the Christians. When the tsunami hit, these religious values really came out. People were helping each other, no matter what the religion was. There was a real sense of family. It made Sri Lanka's post-tsunami period very special.
I was in Galle, Sri Lanka, which is located in the southern area of Sri Lanka and had been devastated by the tsunami. Almost all the houses had been washed away, and my project was to go into that community and do some interviewing of community members, survivors, and put together a documentary about personal accounts and people's stories and their feelings. And being out there and sitting in a chair where someone's living room used to be, and sitting with parts of their family, but not everyone, because some of them had unfortunately had not survived the tsunami. These people have nothing left. They have nothing left, but they're looking at me and saying, what can I bring to you? They're still offering me things, because that's just the kind of people that they are.
It was a disaster that I don't have words to explain. And it's terrible to see the people traumatized, having lost everything in life. We didn't have any funds for relief or anything like that, but we thought we got to be doing something.
I'm speaking with Padma Ratnayake, the Executive Director of South Asian Partnership Sri Lanka, or SAPSRI for short. Padma and her associates at SAPSRI were my guides, as gradually I learned what happened to them on the fateful day of the tsunami, and then how they tried to pull together and rebuild the lives of the survivors.
I lost my 2 kids from the tsunami. We were in the house, and when the first wave came, we were separated. I was just thinking about my 2 kids, and that was all that was going through my mind. We never expected a wave like that, and it was like the end of the world to us. And the greatest shock to my wife and myself was the loss of our 2 kids. The first wave was about 20 feet high. Most of the people ran and got into the train. They never expected a second wave.
There was a train, and people started running for the train for safety. But it really sadly became a moving grave, because people were on the train and the wave hit and they had nowhere to go.
How many people were on the train when the tsunami hit it?
2,000 people. I think more than 1,600 died.
A lot of women were left without capital, without a lot of money. And the project there specifically was a microcredit project wherein women were able to receive small loans with low interest rates, whereby they were able to create, through lace-making cooperatives, beautiful handkerchiefs and lace products, and then sell that on a daily or weekly basis in the local market. Gain back the loan that they were given, return that to the bank, and then able to eventually make some profit from that.
Okay, Sujiva, how long would it take you to make this?
About 4 days.
4 days? Wow. And is that 4 days straight? Like 8 hours a day? Okay. So that's quite a lot of detail, because every one of those she has to weave. It's beautiful.
Thousands and thousands of women are engaged in this industry. So we thought, since they have the skill, since they are already been doing that, we need to help these women to restart their lifestyle, their income generating activities, to gain normalcy to their lives.
When I was here 6 months ago, the lace-making project was already underway. The women knew about lace-making, but they were then beginning to learn about how to organize themselves, how to borrow money to expand, and how to relate to the export market. The project had only started March 2005, and I visited here in May 2005, so within those short 2 months, they had already done quite a bit of training.
Our development approach is to help people help themselves, and they organize themselves, and they can manage their finances, they can manage their people, and they are sustainable by the time that we withdraw.
The same principles were being developed in another local industry, that of choir making.
The ropes are woven, especially by the women who live along the coast. So this fiber that's taken like this.
Choir is spelled C-O-I-R. It is a coarse fiber obtained from the tissue surrounding the seed of the coconut palm tree, a native plant of Sri Lanka, which currently produces 36% of the total world choir fiber output. Choir seems to have endless uses, including twine, brushes, doormats, mattresses, and sacking. A worldwide market awaits the women now organizing to serve it under the direction of Sapshri. Everywhere I went, the people were getting on with their lives. There were far too many temporary shelters still, but food was getting on the table. Drinkable water was available. Kids were getting schooling, and the courage of the women everywhere was incredible.
In one interview, I met Praita, and I could see from where her house used to be, I could see the water. She started by telling me where she was when the tsunami hit. She's looking at me and telling me about the day where her mother was washed away to the ocean, and one of her children was washed away to the ocean, and telling me, after what she had been through, the loss that has undergone, that she wasn't going to take this sitting down. She wasn't even thinking about herself after she'd lost her family members. She was worried about the fishermen and how they were going to fish because their catamarans had been washed away to sea. She was worried about the townspeople because their bikes were gone and they couldn't get into the market to buy food for their families. She wanted to have kettles brought in because people couldn't get themselves clean water because it was very ridden with bacteria because of the bodies in the ocean. She was doing development. She was doing her own reconstruction work right there. And she said, but when you go back, you'll help us, right? You'll keep helping us. I said, I promise you.
It's December 2005. Here I am in Sri Lanka for the second time. I now know I can deliver on my promise to go on helping the people I met a few months ago in Sri Lanka. Everything has prepared me for this moment, but it still comes almost as a shock. It began just a few weeks ago with an email from Terry Fielder at World Accord.
Greetings, Sarah. I'm very pleased to be able to invite you into this new phase of your involvement with World Accord at this crucial moment for Sri Lanka's communities. What I have in mind for you is to help us implement a new phase of World Accord's relationship with our partner NGOs in Sri Lanka.
There wasn't any agency in Sri Lanka that had all the people they needed to respond to a disaster as big and as significant as the tsunami. They all needed to gear up, to ramp up, to get more staff, to get more vehicles and whatever it was to deliver the program they want to do.
Having been there in May, I was able to see that Sapshri is a very capable organization, a lot of very skilled staff. But in order to facilitate and deliver this new project that World Accord is looking to deliver, that we need to find out what are the human skills that people have in their training in Sapshri and where do those need to go in order to be able to ramp up for a larger scale and a larger capacity program that we're looking to deliver.
Now these are the finished goods. Now they're the geotextiles.
Okay.
So it's kind of human resource development 101 in some respects, matching the human skills to the needs and having the people there at the right time.
The project theme is reconstruction of livelihoods in Sri Lanka in the tsunami-affected areas. Many of the things we are planning for the future are things I worked on with Sapshri as they were starting out with the recovery work. The lace-making and choir-making projects were a complete success at the very small-scale level. Now, World Accord wants to help and is bringing other NGOs on board, including Hope International from British Columbia and South Asian Partnership Canada. The plans are to make these small-scale local industries expand to the point where women will have decent incomes and time off for a more balanced life. I hope this task will challenge you. In the many years to come, a fruitful collaboration between Sri Lanka's NGOs and World Accord. You will know that you helped lay the foundation. Thank you for agreeing to do this, and I look forward to seeing you in Sri Lanka. Terry Fielder. I should be feeling scared about all this, and I am scared. Here I am not quite finished with my studies, and yet already walking into a project with huge responsibilities.
I've been preparing by doing a lot of revisiting mentally about what I saw when I was there. That's important for Terry. He wants to know from my perspective how much has changed, how quickly is this progressing.
Yeah, many rural women, especially along the coast, are involved in knitting wire ropes, and that is their main means of income. It's high time that we change this technology and introduce an improved machine to them so that they can be more efficient, save more time, and produce more, and would be able to make a better income.
Besides the income that they get from it, there are the social values of working together and being in groups of three. If they're going to upgrade the machines and be more efficient, they won't be likely working together the same. There are a lot of dynamics at play, different people working with each other, the roles of government, local leadership, the wants and needs of a family. All of those things play off against each other. And Sarah is seeing that happening, and I think it's a very good experience for her.
Still, if we take this initiative, we will ensure that people get into organizations, work to help themselves much better, to keep a house clean, to have a home garden, to think of more health and sanitation, and think total development. It's not only the economic development.
Over the next few days, World Accord, Sapshri, and I become a team, and I am starting to feel at ease. As I go forward, the challenges of my task are immense, but I am up for it. In Sri Lanka's post-tsunami struggle, I have come home to what I love doing, to where my heart is. Sri Lankans will be my teachers. I am their willing partner.